something that you
Oh, so
uh
I don't think it's now that I'm reading this, I don't think it's 1098.
oh, it's it's my Norwegian. Okay, I'm not okay, so that this is something else.
Because yeah, to me, like the way this reads, automate tax form with 1098 pre-built models, to me it's like there's 1098 models. To me it's like I don't know what a 10 I didn't know what a 1098 was until I googled it right now because I'm Canadian and we have our own 10 bazillion different tax forms. Hey, everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of the Power Platform Boost podcast, your timely source of Power Platform news and updates with your host, Ulrike Ackerbeck, and myself, Nick Dolman. And this is our special summertime episode. What are we talking about today?
Oh, it's the 2023 release wave 2 plan that's on the agenda today. It just got released, and we're going to go through, like the Up podcast used to do. We have read through the whole release plan separately, and we picked our top features, top news that we want to talk about, and then we'll go through them one by one product at a time, and we'll see if we pick the same ones or not. So this can be 30 minutes or an hour, depending on how many overlaps that we have.
This,
Hopefully for you guys, we have a lot of overlap.
if you listen to your podcast in 30-minute bursts, this might be one where you could take a break halfway through and listen to the other half a little bit later on.
Yeah, or do double speed, and then we'll sound like chipmunks.
We'll sound like chipmunks, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they
Alvin!
all do this. They probably do this anyways. You don't have to tell them.
It's like,
That's
oh
just
yeah.
regular for this podcast. Just speed through.
I was like, oh, they're talking for 45 minutes again? Oh, okay, yeah, let's speed
Yeah.
this up.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So,
All
all
right,
right, let's
so
get into it. First item on the list, first product up is Power BI. And I picked the fact that you now can create and run DAX queries with Query View in Power BI Desktop. Did you pick that same one?
I didn't actually. And
Yes.
to be fair, I don't do a ton of Power BI. But when I do, like, I don't often do Power BI, but when I do, but what I saw out of that was pretty cool was the ability to do like visual calculations, kind of like that Excel type experience. And because I don't do Power BI very often, I've done a bit of Excel in the past. This is yet another feature of, you know, taking sort of that Excel experience and applying it to something else within Power BI. So they call that the visual calculation. So that was what jumped out at me, as part of one of many new features that are coming up. And I think we should also, before we dive too deep, level set that we're not going to go through each and every single feature that's being released, or else this podcast would be probably about 5 hours at least.
Yeah, it's an extensive document, but what I think this time they have been very restrictive of how much information to bring to about every feature, and then there's also links to show notes and to no, sorry, not show notes. I'm in podcast mode. I'm sorry. No, documentation and where you can find more information, and this will obviously be all over that the release plan website that we're now all used to using. That will be full of this new stuff once this
and
is released. So,
and actually something else, I know that we're sort of backtracking a little bit, but I want to talk about release plans in general because at Microsoft, the release planning process is a pretty big deal, and rightly so, because it's really the way to communicate what is the roadmap. And Microsoft is great at communicating what's on the roadmap, when it's coming, and release plans. Like I get daily emails in my inbox of release plans that need updating, things that need to be modified or edited and approved. Very, very smooth process. The team that does the release plans, I'm going to do a shout out to Erica and her team. It's they just do amazing work. Putting this all together for the community and customers and partners and whoever else. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't know is, as much as there is the big hoopla in terms of the release plans being released twice a year, the release plans themselves are updated every couple weeks. So when the release plan is being put out here at the end of July, in a couple weeks, some of these features, there'll be new updates and maybe even new things added completely. Sometimes things will be taken away as well or shifted to another different release wave, but it is a continual process. So you don't have to wait every 6 months for this release wave. Check it out every couple weeks. There'll be new little edits, new things added, things moved around. So just keep an eye on that to see all the new exciting new features that are coming. So I just wanted to kind of establish that before, and then as we go through, of course, some of these other things that are being
Absolutely.
released.
And pay close attention to the change log, because in the document there will be, or on the website, sorry, there will be a change log, and that's where you can pick up whatever changed since you watched or read through it last time. And we saw this during COVID especially. That's the time I think that they've shifted their priorities a lot from the release wave notes until what was actually delivered. That was a big change. So when things happen in the world, then they rearrange their priorities, and that will show in the show notes. Sorry, the release notes.
We'll get there.
I'm going to say show notes. Okay, so we're talking about Power BI. And the one thing that jumped out to me, like I said, was the ability to create and run DAX queries. So in the past, you have DAX queries have existed a while. It's an established feature, but you need to use the third-party tools to use the API in order to write and run DAX queries. Now, this will be an embedded part of the product, meaning that when you go through it, you don't have to copy paste as much, and it's a much smoother way to run and to use DAX within Power BI desktop. So that's great news. And it is I think it's public preview for March 2024. And that's something else to watch out for when you go through this document. Always keep an eye on that little table visual within the notes that will say if it's when it's public preview, private preview, and GA, general availability. There will be dates or months and year. So this is for March 2024. And also something that I wanted to mention in the start, we just ran into Power BI and now we're backtracking. I'm sorry about that. But so something else that I learned from someone in the community is keep an eye out for those release news that have a long way of, so this is for March 2024. That may indicate that there will be changes. So this is kind of low on the list, on the priority list for things to that will get out. And also, if there's a lot of screenshots and a lot of information, then that means that it's more likely that will be created and released.
Absolutely.
So then, yes, absolutely. So let's dive into Power Apps. So I just wanted to point out as well some key investment areas. So when you go through the document in the beginning of each section or each product, they will list the key investment areas. So for Power Apps, it's Copilot, of course, for makers and users, the ability to use natural language within the studio experience as well. Building modern apps with modern controls, so the simplified responsive layouts and collaboration capabilities, and then enable enterprise scaling and apps across entire organizations and tools to ensure quality. That is their key investment areas for Power Apps specifically in this release. And I know we're supposed to pick one thing. I do have four things.
I thought I was in trouble for picking three things.
I know. I talked to Megan Walker yesterday and I said, I'm going to play Lisa this time because she always had in our podcast. She just crammed four things into one just to get all her favorite things in there. So I'm going to play Lisa Crosby and I'm going to, try to scooch four things into one. But first, Nick, what is your one pick for Power Apps?
My three picks?
You've done the same. Okay, this is going to be 7 highlights for Power Apps.
So,
okay, what did you pick?
Okay,
your favorite one.
My favorite one. Okay, so if I have to pick a favorite, I would have to say what's really cool is the makers can set solution context for customization outside Solution Explorer. What the heck does this mean? So let me explain this. So I'm anytime I'm doing training on how to build Power Apps or showing people, and I'm constantly saying, go to the Solution Explorer, do all your stuff in the Solution Explorer, add your tables in the Solution Explorer, do this in the Solution Explorer. Like I sound like a broken record. And then I see people, they're going, oh, I created a new table, and they go to the Dataverse tab in Power Apps Maker Studio. Like,
And then
yeah,
what
that's
happens? What happens then if you do
what
that?
happens. It goes into the default solution. It has a stupid CR, blah, blah, blah prefix. And then your ALM gets all messed up, and you're just, it's, and it's like the new underscore from the old CRM days. It looks unprofessional. It's, not to say that some of my older projects have that, um, but now what you can do, according to the way this reads, is you could go into the Dataverse section and create a table, but you could set the solution context, meaning, hey, I've already have, this is my solution, this is my publisher, this is the solution that I want all my changes to be added to, and that's outside of the Solution Explorer. So you can use some of those other tools within the Power Apps Maker Studio a lot more freely, yet still doing all the right things. So this to me was like, aha, this is something to me should have been there since day one. But of course,
Yeah.
these things evolve, and I totally get it. But so now I don't have to be, so instead of me saying, work within the solution, I'm probably going to be telling people, make sure you pick the right solution context when you're adding new
Yeah,
assets to your
exactly.
apps.
So this is the ability to set a new default in a kind of a,
Yes.
in short.
In
Yeah.
a good
And
way.
it's yeah, absolutely. And it's a public preview from October 2023. So it's just around the corner. So this will probably light up in your tenant any day now. This is also on my list, by the way. So now I only have 3. So let me just pick one.
Yep.
Copilot now enables makers to perform actions in Power Apps Studio to build and edit apps. This is public preview also in October, and this is a Copilot thing. And I know we agreed kind of, skip them, but I think this is kind of cool and then kind of lame at the same time. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be in the studio experience once you've created your app using natural language and Copilot, of course. You'll be able to add screens, add controls, modify properties, and link to data in natural language using Copilot as well. Who's going to do that? Now, what I want to see is the formula creation. That's what I want to use Copilot for. I can move stuff around. I can add buttons. It's 2 clicks away. I don't need Copilot for that. I need Copilot for the things that I don't know how to do. The formulas, what I struggle with every time, that I need Copilot for. And it says in the description in one place that it will in the future maybe able to help you with that, but it's not something coming in this release. Now there is a lot of text here, is described in very detail, and there's 4 screenshots, so I know this is one of the indicators that this is coming, but I want to see that formula creation. That's what I want to see. So huge improvement, sure, of course, but yeah, disappointed at the same time.
Yeah, no, I hear you. There's a lot of, and I'm trying not to get myself in trouble about talking about copilots, but a lot of the copilot is that I've been seeing created are going down the path of the let me Google that for you type things, where it's
and to be fair, that's also, the fact that you don't have to do that you don't have to go to another tab and then Google and then find and then go back. You can do that in the experience. Sure, that's great. And this is probably bread and butter as well. If you want a Copilot, then this is something that you need to be able to do. But then I want the advanced stuff to come now. It's time to get more advanced stuff as well. So I just want to, shoot a couple of other things in there. Improved name formula browsing experience in Power Apps Studio. You can now see a list of the name formulas that you have in the variables and the collections pane that we got just a couple of weeks ago. That's great. And that's public preview in March 24. So that's almost a year away. And then the new the rect new makers to their own developer environments.
Mm.
This is public preview now in August 2023. It's GA in October 23. So this is something that we'll see light up any day now. And this is the ability for admins to enable a feature that automatically send new makers to their own developer environment instead of the default environment.
Oh,
Now, do you think
yay!
that means? I know, and I googled it, and I've searched through all the things that I can't find anywhere if it says that that developer environment now will be automatically created for you. Because if you're a new maker and you come into the Power Platform for the first time, you wouldn't have your own developer environment set up yet. That's something that we still need to do ourselves. Now, does this mean that it will automatically be created? I wonder. I
I
can't find any information anywhere.
Good question. I believe so, but don't quote me 100% on that. It would be
That's
a, yeah,
okay.
matter of, yeah, it would make sense. It's sort of like, yeah,
We're
go and,
speculating. Yeah.
yeah, we're speculating at this point.
Yeah.
But it would make sense and be good for new makers to go in and like, yeah, here's your dev environment. You go, here's your sandbox, go work in here.
Mm.
As opposed to doing all this stuff in the default environment and making, adding stuff in there. And we talked about the default environment, I think a few episodes back.
Yeah. And I wonder
But
how this plays along with now you can create a custom welcome screen for new makers. So you would have an onboarding experience for new makers that you could customize now in Canvas apps and make the powerapps.com. And I wonder how this development environment experience will play with that onboarding experience. So that's something I'm very keen to see more details about.
yeah,
Exciting
cool.
times.
It definitely.
Okay. Did you
So
have anything else for Power Apps?
the one thing yes, the one thing that I've been asking for, it's funny, way back when I first saw Canvas apps for the first time, you're putting in those, at that time, they were just Canvas app formulas, which of course are now Power Effects. And there's this little tiny little text thing at the top, and you start typing, and yes, you can expand it out. And then it's just, it's all very well and nice, but it's sort of like, there's got to be a better way. Like this to me felt very Visual Basic version 3. And again, I'm showing my age, back in the day when
No,
we
but
had the,
I agree. It's overlapping your screen, so you don't get to see what you're doing at the same time. Da-da-da-da-da. No, I agree. I wish it was something else.
yeah. So this is something they said, resize and reposition the Power Effects editor within Power Apps Studio. So this is going to be pretty awesome in terms of building out those formulas. And I think you and I discussed this in fact, every time we have to go to create a Canvas app, we get, because to me, coming from a dev background, going into the Power Effects language, which is more instantaneous, is always, I always have to think kind of sideways or backwards than my regular
I know.
linear thinking. So this will just definitely help help with that whole process of building.
Definitely. And then bring us Copilot in there, and then it's all good. We're good to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're getting there.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, did you have anything else?
The only thing I was going to talk about was the new look and feel for the model driven Power Apps. And as you know, and we talked about this in our last episode, I'm a big fan of model driven apps. I think they're not always given the credit they deserve, because they are the true low code apps. Now, what's great about this new look and feel that has those nice defining borders, there's accessibility built in there that's using, it looks like a new modern app, not so much a CRM version 4 app. And I know there's, over the years, there have been iterations of this. I know when CRM 2013 came out, it was like I called it the snowstorm because they removed all the lines, and apparently
I
it was,
know.
a new design aesthetic and it's wonderful and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is garbage. My customers hated it. And then they fixed it in like CRM 2016. And if they've evolved, of course, there was the changeover, I think CRM 2016, into how they did model driven apps from the old web based to the new kind of modern environment. And now it's a new look and feel. But again, the progression is a lot, it's just evolving with the times. And I do really like the look of the new look and feel of model driven apps. It's exciting. It takes,
Yeah.
and again, if you have those massively big spreadsheets and those access databases, turn them into model driven apps and just move into the 21st century.
Yeah, and I've actually seen this let up in my work environment, I think. So I think my employer has this, Itera has this up and running already. It looks slick and nice, and it's all rounded corners. And we're not going to get into that discussion, but it's very rounded corners. Oh, okay, moving on. You don't
Yeah.
get any more epics.
Okay.
So Power Pages, people. That's on the next. That's the next product we're going to talk about. Now, here, key investment areas are generative AI, so Copilot. No surprises there. Data. Connect seamlessly to data anywhere. That's a direction that we've seen them go at for a while, and it's nice to see that it's also investment going forward. Collaboration. All makers collaborate to make pixel perfect
Yes.
experiences. That's very cool. And then security and governance, secure by default. That's also a story that we've heard a lot, and it's going to be repeated. Of course, everything is secure by default in Power Pages. That's really key and important.
Yeah.
So, what's your topic?
Um, I I put two things. The collaboration with the commenting capabilities, I think, is pretty cool because this is an area that we both have worked in. We know that collaboration in Power Pages is it's always been a challenge. It's people doing work on one thing and then overwriting and who's working on what and who did what, and then making sure we download those changes and stuff using the Pack CLI. So the whole collaboration aspect of it with those commenting of who did what, and who's currently in the studio doing things is just a huge leap forward in terms of building Power Pages. So I think this is one of the exciting things, for me, that's coming. That's outside it. Like I kind of wanted to avoid the Copilot because Copilots just get a lot of coverage already. So these are the things that you might have missed because of all the Copilot hoopla. So
Exactly. So, when
yeah,
does that come out? When is it public preview or GA? Do you have a date or anything?
I didn't write down the date. I'm sure it's in the plan.
All right. So while you dig through that, I want to highlight something else as well. Um, the admin security and analytics view. That's GA in
Yes.
October as well. So that's coming pretty soon. And this is the admin's ability to see important information about portals across portals in your Power Platform Admin Center. There's an information about audit and monitoring. There's a security part to it where you see security scores, anonymous data access, phishing site detected, etc. And then there's an analytics part where you would see monthly active users, service errors, and other things. And now the next thing I want to see here is accessibility score and performance scores. I would love for Microsoft to go down that path and make that data accessible to the admins as well. So I hope this is just a beginning of a cross portal, cross platform, cross environment view into what's going on. There's a lot of screenshots, there's one screenshot. It looks amazing, and so I'm hoping this will light up in my tenants so I can demo this when we come to Vegas. That's going to be so cool. So yeah, GA October 23. So fingers crossed. Now, did you find a date for?
Yeah, it was the collaboration is November, public preview November 2023.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Means it's not that far away. Now,
No.
I need to ask about something. So there's links on, for every product in the start of every section. There's a link list for documentation, for learning materials, and there is a link for upcoming events. Now, that took you to the App in a Day site. Does that mean that we will be able to do Power Pages in a day?
Yes. And that content
Yes.
is available today, actually. If you go to MS Learn, you take, so if you've done App in a Day, for probably a lot of people, this is their first exposure to Power Apps as partners. It's a great way to kind of deliver some kind of training out to folks where you go through and you build a Power App to do the coffee machine ordering. You create a Canvas app. I think you create a model driven app to manage some of the back end of that. You get exposed to those things. Power Pages in a Day takes this to the next level where now you're building a supplier portal that talks to the coffee ordering app. So as a supplier, you can go in and say, if so someone's ordered some coffee machines, you can go out and update the delivery dates and some other information, or if it's delayed, that's kind of thing. I mean, it's a fairly simple use case, but basically, it is the next step in the app in a day sort of story. And you can also shows you how to design the site to be the Contoso Coffee Company, and using the brand colors, and adding those images and laying out those web pages. So, and that's something I mean, for sure, if you're a partner, be able to to deliver this for your customers. But if you're a self learner, you can go to MS Learn now and follow that learning path. It's available today. And you can actually, and if you've not done app in a day, no problem. There's a link. You can download the solution file, import that in a developer or a test environment. Don't do this on production. And then go through and do the Power Pages in a day content, and get ramped
Wow.
up on Power Pages.
Nice. So does that mean you have to go through an app in a day before you can do the Power Pages in a day course?
I don't think so. I think I don't.
Okay.
I think you'll be able to dive right in. Like I said, if you've not done app in a day, if you've done app in a day, you can take what you've built and extend that. Or if you haven't, or if it's been a while, or if you kind of played around and experimented and it's a bit of a mess right now, you'll be able to download a fully capable app in a day solution already set to go. And there'll be,
Nice.
I believe there's, at this point, because the enhanced data model is still in preview, there's actually two versions of that. One is the enhanced data model version, and the other, the standard data model version, just because there are a few subtle differences in between. But eventually, when the enhanced data model becomes sort of the mainstream way to do it, that'll probably evolve. Like, these things are always changing, but that
Yeah.
check that
That will
out.
be a great way to ramp up on Power Pages for sure. And the point is not to create that Power Page site or app. It's to learn, and it's to get to know the product and have a use case to learn it by. So, and if you're a partner, there is a partner growth plan that you can follow for Power Pages that has specific requirements that you need to fulfill, and then you'll be allowed to host App in a Day as a partner. So not App in a Day, Power Pages in a Day. I've been hosting Power App in a Day in the past, and now I'm looking into that growth plan to be eligible for the Power Pages in a Day. So I'm so excited about this. And yeah, next product up is Power Automate.
Mm-hmm.
And the key investment areas here are divided into the different products that they focus on. So for desktop flows, you'll be given a single pane glass across all Power Automate products, bringing it all closer together. And that is something that we see across all the new enhancements for Power Automate. It's that single pane glass. I don't know how many times I saw that throughout the document. That is something really to look out for, because it's coming again and again and again throughout the document. Process Advisor, process mining and task mining, integrating AI for democratizing use of process mining. So probably they saw that the threshold for getting into this is quite high. And so they're using AI to lower that bar and to get more people into the process mining and the process advisory things. And then for cloud flows, it's integrating more services across the collaborative space of the Power Platform product. So it's also bringing all the full Microsoft stack closer together using Power Automate, and that's Cloud Flows, and that's really cool. So anything that stood out for you for Power Automate, Nick?
Yeah, it was the manage bulk abandoned cloud flows again. It's
I'm guessing there's a history. I guess
yeah.
there's probably a story here.
Well, not much of a story. Well, not really a specific story, but just all going through all of these old cloud flows and seeing that massive list of 40 flows, and like, oh, who owns what, why aren't these running anymore? Don't get me wrong, I love Power Automate because there's so many cool things you can do with it, but there are so many cool things you can do with it that you kind of either you forget yourself, or you have other colleagues that have created a bunch of things, or you have people that have created their flows, and then you're like, what was this thing supposed to do again? And oh, we don't need it anymore, and let's get rid of it. Now you're going through like back and forth clicking, one at a time. Just so as soon as I see the word bulk, I get excited. Like, ooh, I can select a whole bunch and then just clean it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this, I mean, feature gives more visibility and lower risk to active management of they call their automation estate. It's like, ooh, fancy words.
Wow.
But yeah, just a bulk
Nice.
reassignment of flows. So you're not going back and forth clicking, reassigning the flows and things like that. So again, I mean, it's almost you need a Power Automate to manage your Power Automate. I guess
I've
that's
seen it happen.
yeah, totally.
Yes, in practice. Yeah. We kicked
Yeah.
off a flow that runs 100,000 times before we can shut it off, Then
Yeah.
you need a flow to manage your flow, right?
Yeah. So that kind of stuff stood out
Is
for me
that
as
coming
well.
soon or is that far away?
I think that's a GA, a public preview, November 2023, general availability March 2024. And just again to highlight the differences, public preview is technically try this out, not supported, even though we do sometimes do it in RHEL projects. But general availability 2024, and the idea, and then even in the preview, there's sort of there's sometimes things that get changed. That's the whole idea, like how best to test these things out, like try them out, provide that feedback. But yeah,
Yeah,
so that was,
definitely.
I mean, Power Automate always has a tons of things on the go, but these are the things in this particular release wave that kind of caught my attention.
Yeah, definitely. The one that I picked is also public preview November 2023. And that is monitor performance for cloud and desktop flow activities, meaning you get a central consolidated view to monitor and understand the execution across cloud and desktop flows. Now, that is for understanding trends across different automation assets and to see, and also across different time periods. You would see trends, the top errors, if there's any similarities. It would be a centralized way, again, that single pane glass window into your apps and the flow activities. And that is also something I think is really great. And then a small little thing that I just want to, put in there, variable value editing during debugging for Power BI desktop. And when you're running a flow, you're debugging and you have to go through the testing and then you see, only one variable didn't, make it all go crazy. Then you can actually, in that experience, edit the variables. It's not read only anymore. And that's something that's coming GA in March of 24. So that's also something to look out for.
Cool. Well, that'd be very helpful.
Cool. Oh yeah. And it's Power BI desktop, just to point that out. So not for cloud flows yet. Now we move to Power Virtual Agents. The key investment here are the bot configurations, how improvements to the pro code functionalities in the editor canvas or in the studio canvas experience, and then bot framework, how bot builders can now convert the bot framework and bring your bot built-in Azure bot services into Power Virtual Agent bots. That's the key investment areas. So anything else or anything that jumped out at you, Nick?
Yeah, the big one for Power, and I think we've talked about Power Virtual Agents in the past, about the fact that it's now AI enabled. This is truly where AI shines, I believe, in terms of, and actually elevates Power Virtual Agents than just a simple question and answer type chatbot that it was before. I think this is, to use it before and use it now, it's a sort of like this was the missing
Yeah.
power
Secret
battery,
sauce.
the secret
thing that
sauce.
needed, yeah.
But what I think is cool too is the fact that you can use Dataverse as a source for AI generative answers and use internal SharePoint content as a source for AI generative answers. So I remember years ago, I had one of my bosses and she told me, because we had multiple databases in the systems we were managing. And she said, we are data rich, but information poor, because we had all these transactions.
Yes.
We had all this information across all these databases, and just to compile it, put it together, generate reports, do some analysis. I mean, this is where the Power BI people shine. But now, if you could point, I make it sound easy, but if you could just point your Power Virtual Agent to these data sources and start asking questions, it's sort of like this is game changing for some businesses that have a lot of this data, and can just ask a chatbot, hey, I'm looking for some information. What were our sales? What were our lemonade stand sales 2 years ago during the snowstorm, kind of thing, right? And then this should be able to kind of go through some of that information and kind of generate some good information. Like I haven't done that exact question or scenario, but this is how I see,
That is the first thing you should try when that lights up in the Microsoft tenant.
Yeah.
How did the lemonade stand during that snowstorm go?
Yeah, exactly. Probably not well, so but you never know. This is why you need the AI to figure this out.
Yeah. No, this is a public preview in October 23 as well. So this should light up any day now, or any day now in a couple of months.
Yeah.
I'm still, moving too fast. And one of the things that stood out for me in this one was that you will now be able to build PVA, Power Virtual Agent bot, from Teams. And that is so cool. You will be able to use content from SharePoint sites and Dataverse. So for SharePoint, this will be content on web pages, the wikis, Word document, PowerPoint, and PDFs. And it will always also be able to draw from Dataverse indexed content and dedicated knowledge bases, etc. So you can point it to whatever source you want, and it will be able to index and give that answers. Or give answers from that, generative answers. And it will be GTP powered and work like we all learn how to use ChatGTP. So it will work probably like that.
Sweet.
So that's really cool. A thing that I picked for Power Virtual Agent is how you can bring your bot framework bot to the Power Virtual Agents. Now this is not something I'm very familiar with. I've just worked with colleagues previously that worked with us, and I know that this will light up their day. Azure Bot Service Resources. That is a way to create bots in the bot framework. That's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize that. I just assumed that you can bring those into Power Virtual Agents. But apparently you couldn't until now. So now they've opened up a new unified authoring canvas, ChatGPT-based AI and Copilot capabilities, and integration with cognitive services. So you can utilize the Azure Bot Services, tools, extensibility points, how-to guides, and learning content to make bringing your bot to Power Virtual Agents straightforward and rewarding. So it's a way to bring those bots into Power Virtual Agents. So I thought that's great news for those pro bot developers.
Yeah.
And also just a small thing.
Okay.
Playing Lisa again. Okay, so you'll now also be able to see billing and usage details in the Power Platform Admin Center for Power Virtual Agents. And I know that is also something where I saw the place that I saw the single pane glass kind of thing. So, and it goes toward that same idea that you will be able as an admin to have that complete overview in Power Platform Admin Center going forward. And that's also GA in October 23. So yeah, that's great news.
Yeah, that's cool. So I think we hit the five colors, but of course there's still more things covers.
Yeah. So you think you've reached the end of the document, and then you see, oh, I'm halfway. What more can there be?
But wait, there's more.
Turns out there's more. So what is more? It's AI Builder, it's Dataverse, it's ProDev, it's governance.
Yeah, it's all of these things. And I'm focusing on Dataverse because I think Dataverse to me is my favorite source of data.
You're not supposed to have favorites.
Oh, really? I like it more than SharePoint lists, but.
Oh, really? Oh, uh-oh.
Funny story. Anyways,
they throw you off.
No, I was thinking,
a story.
I got a question actually on LinkedIn from someone asking about SharePoint lists and Canvas apps, based on a course I taught.
Yeah, send them to Thomas Sanser. He loves to play with SharePoint.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
Send it to him. No problem.
CRM Keeper. SharePoint list expert. Heard it here first.
Yeah, we're in the ACDC hackathon committee together, and I've just gotten, we've done it for 10 years in a row, and now he's starting to use OneNote, and I'm so happy. And I'm so proud of you, Thomas, if you're listening. It's not a big podcast guy, he doesn't listen to this. But yeah, shout out to Thomas Sanser.
Oh, he doesn't?
He's now
okay.
using OneNote.
Okay, we can trash talk him if he doesn't listen. Cool.
Oh, yeah, we can. Let's do that.
Oh, that's a good promote. Like, listen to our podcast or we'll trash talk you.
Exactly, right. Yeah, that's so cool.
Oh,
yes, we need to do that.
Let me get my list of grievances. Okay. Once again, we're off the. Let's get back on the rails.
Yes. Yeah, that's okay. So something. Did anything stand out? Anything you wanted to talk about?
So on Dataverse, yes.
How many things?
No, only three. So, well, I mean, there was more than three, but the three things that jumped at me: support for roll-up columns in formula columns.
I know, right?
Yes. Like
yes.
Yes. And then the fact that formula columns are going to be at parity with calculated columns. And if you've kind of followed my blog and things like that, or on some of the projects, I am a huge fan of calculated columns. Specifically the fact that you can take a calculated column and then read a parent table through the lookup link. Nobody knows this, and it just opens up so many possibilities.
I know.
So the fact that now formula columns, which are really cool, you can do like the Power FX formulas are going to be at parity. That sort of means calculated columns kind of might be on the way out, but that's okay because we can use formula columns. And then also tying into that, you can do roll-up columns, which I like roll-up columns. My biggest hang up with roll-up columns is, that whole you have to wait half an hour or you have to run a flow to trigger them and to do that kind of stuff, that they're not real time. But the fact that you can use them in formula columns is really cool. So this really enables more the low code experience. It's still code, but you don't have to rely on getting someone to write complicated plugins or building big flows. This is for those like quick hits, but directly within your tables to get your data refreshed and updated. So those are the things that stood out to me. It's like, yes, this is something I know I would use if I'm building apps on top of Dataverse.
Yeah. I actually have it highlighted because I knew you were going to talk about that. Yeah, that's really cool. Did you get the dates on that by any chance?
If you told me that we were going to do dates, I would have written them down.
Yeah.
I just wrote down the top things. So here everyone can listen to how we plan things.
So it's March 24th. So it's public preview in January, and then it's general availability in March.
It looks like everything is March 2024. That might be a default.
Yeah, they're lazy that way. It's just a copy paste.
Okay. That never happens.
You tell me. You work in docs.
Okay.
Awkward silence. Okay, moving on. AI Builder, Human in the Loop. Now, this is public preview in December 2023, so I'm hoping this will actually come to play. Bringing in more parts of the platform, bringing things together. Again, I feel like I'm a broken record today. Okay. Requesting. So AI Builder has the capability of scanning through, for instance, documents, right? Scanning through a lot of documents, understand what the document is, putting in the data from the document into the right place in your database, data model, et cetera, right? So suddenly you have a picture where the something is smudged, or there's an overlay, you don't see all the data comes in, and then the AI model will detect something is off and engage a human. That is what this is. AI Builder, Human in the Loop. It will now be able to request a review on its own. It will understand, I'm not capable of understanding this correctly. I need a human in the loop, and request a review. It uses Power Automate action cards. It's based on Power Automate approvals. And it also uses Teams and Outlook notifications to inform you that something's happening, and you have the ability to quickly fix the problem in the notification itself. It will list reviews as part of approvals that we already know from Power Automate. And during the review, there's a pre-built validation station. I haven't seen this before. Pre-built validation station for review and to check data. So you can be on top of whatever problems coming in. You can actually monitor and see those and improve the document tags, etc., as they go through it. So that is massive. So keep an eye on that if you're using that AI builder, the human in the loop.
Perfect. So it's not like you're running a big AI builder job and then you go back later and it failed and you got to fix it and start again. This is sort of like, yes, you have to fix it, and then you pick up from where you left off, essentially, right?
No, and this is an automated process. So once you teach AI Builder to go through all the documents, it will do that for you. And then once it hit a problem, it will alert you of that with a notification and allow you to fix that problem as you go. And the fact that it's also listed, the reviews are listed as part of the approvals that you will already are familiar with in Power Automate, makes that it's kind of going into the space of Power Automate, the action cards, it's using Teams and Outlook, also part of the bring everything together and see how you can utilize the different products in the platform better together, right?
Yep.
And this is actually a really good use case of that. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah, cool. No, this is neat. Yeah, like again, all these pieces coming together. And AI Builder is one of those things that just doesn't get a lot of attention, I think, lately. And of course, with all the AI stuff now, but AI Builder is just so many cool things you can do with it that, in terms of like document processing and all this other things. And it just keeps getting better. And it's something that you can just sort of begin to slip into your projects. Like if 5 years ago, if I said, let's incorporate some AI into a Power Platform project, customers would be like, whoa, we're not ready for that kind of level of sophistication yet. But now it's a case of, hey, it's just part of it's a tool. It's something you can kind of drop in and start working with. Especially like every company receives invoices, or every company, to process that information, just making that a lot more efficient. Those types of things AI Builder is great for. The one thing that jumped out at me was to be able to detect personally identifiable information. And it's something that we're always very careful about in terms of screenshots and things, of making sure that there's not private information. And especially if you're beginning to collect data that you need to build generative models from, you want to be protective of that personal data. So it looks like with AI Builder, having that built in and to detect that and scrub that out. Again, a little feature, but also very important moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. And something also on AI Builder, they're releasing a new model that is trained on, and scrolling through to find it, it was 1,098 different models for tax reports or something. And that means that they're actually pre-training the models that you can use. And that is also massive, that they've started to do that, I think.
It's interesting. Would they be probably US based tax forms, or would they be more worldwide?
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing. So I have it in front of me now. It's Automate Tax Forms Processing with 1,098 pre-built models. Tax processing scenarios just go to a little easier. Addition of one of the pre-built models. A few different variants, including mortgage statements. I don't understand what this is. Student loans and tuitions. So, and it doesn't say any more than that. So if this is something that you...
Oh, so I don't think it's, now that I'm reading this, I don't think it's 1,098.
Oh, it's... It's my Norwegian. Okay, I'm not. Okay, so this is something else.
Yes.
Okay. This just from someone not in the US. This reads so differently because now I understand what it is. And that stood out to me as something completely different. I thought this was 1,098 pre-built models that they created that they already trained AI Builder to do, but it's complete.
So
It's what is it? Is this a system or something?
Here's what it is. Form 1098, Mortgage Interest Statement, is an internal revenue service, which is IRS, which is US based. IRS form used by taxpayers to report the amount of interest and related expenses paid on a mortgage during the tax year when the amount totals $600 or more. So let this be a lesson to my good friends in the United States when conveying information to, because yeah, to me, like the way this reads, automate tax form with 1,098 pre-built models. To me, it's like there's 1,098 models. To me, it's like I don't know what I didn't know what a 1098 was until I Googled it right now because I'm Canadian and we have our own 10 bazillion different tax forms. They're all T dash whatever, blah blah blah. So, oh yeah, the 1098 for tuition, 1098E for student loans. So yes, this is very US based. It is very specific. But but again, yeah, it's cool for AI Builder. But I think this is something I need to bring back to the team saying, remember, just by the way, people, the international audience reading this,
it's not going to read the same way. Yeah, no, but it is a cool thing though. So if you were to process mortgage statements, tuitions, or student loans, then you would have a model built around the real world model. So you don't have to train a custom model to make this work. So probably they've seen that this is a very common request. This is a model that's been created so many times that they've streamlined it and create that custom or created that as a pre-built model for people to use. So then that means, get to the solution faster. And this is March 2023. This will be public preview. So yeah. No, great. Bring that back.
December.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. No, sorry. Yes, my mistake. No, December 23.
So just in time for US tax season for those of you.
Exactly. Well, yeah, great. All right. Did you have anything else that you wanted to mention in the notes?
The only other thing, the last thing I had on there's a bazillion other things, but the last thing I'll talk about today is the activating Dynamics 365 data in Microsoft Fabric. We talked about Microsoft Fabric a while back about that being kind of the big consolidation of a lot of the different data sources. So the ability to bring that Dynamics 365 data, which I believe includes like finance and operations data, so the ERP stuff, in a Microsoft Fabric. So for folks that can be able to quickly generate more easier access to reports, going back to this statement, data rich but information poor, stuff like Microsoft Fabric is going to be able to take all of this stuff that you got spread out all over your databases and in your infrastructure and bring it into a place where it's going to be a lot easier to do reporting and things like that. So the fact of Dynamics 365 data is just kind of smoothing that road even further.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so in the show notes, we will have links to all the release plans and also Microsoft Release Planner, which is a website of its own that you should have bookmarked
right.
in your browser, and also to the highlight video for 2023 Release Wave 2. They always create that those very nice looking marketing videos.
Yeah.
And also, we want to mention, of course, that there are the real world goes. It's the same, even though there's new release notes. So the events that's happening soon, they're still on. So Scottish Summit is coming up in August.
August 5th, yeah.
We have, pre-day workshops for Nordic Summit in September, Copenhagen.
Yep.
That's you. And then we have a joint session on Power Pages. And then, you have a Twitter poll in regards to that, right? So that's the one that we did last time, right? For
Yeah,
the Boost.
the Boost
A
Quest.
couple of episodes ago, we did a Boost Quest, and that's something we're thinking about doing regularly as well. So always have a question or a poll that relates to the episode that we released, where we ask you different questions and we talk about the answers that we get. And so this Twitter poll is about the speaker to attendee ratio on conference training days, right?
Yep. And let's
Yep.
bring up that poll now to see the results. I put out a post last night just to get people to respond. And oh, interesting. So way it stands, we had 11 votes. So thank
Okay,
you.
first you need to say what it is.
Okay. So for conference day, for conference pre-day training, what would you prefer? If you had a small group, but it would be a higher cost, or if you have a larger group, but the cost would be a lot lower? Because we've seen that at European Power Platform Conference. I saw this last year at the Microsoft Power Platform Conference. A lot of great sessions, but there was I think there was 200 people I saw in the room for the model driven apps that Lisa did. I know for the Power Pages one, we had at least 100 or plus in the room, which is great, but it's just, you have to follow along. It's really hard to really dive deep into certain things. But then, I've also done pre-day training where there's a very, very small group, and like Nordic Summit will be this because we only have so much room, where it's a much smaller group. Now the cost is going to be a little bit higher, but you are able to drill down a lot deeper. You have more of that one-on-one. You're able to collaborate with other folks, and even take a little bit of these segues and things like that, where it's all a great learning experience. But everybody learns differently, and sort of what's the preference. So it's interesting the way the poll sits now. It's kind of half and half. Small group high cost is like 55%, and a large group low cost is 45%. So it just goes to show that it goes to the words that we use a lot when we talk about this stuff. It depends. It depends on people's preferences. So I think with these events coming up, with some of the community events and the paid events, there's accommodation for both. So if you like those big rooms where you can get a lot of information packed in the day, you can move along at a rapid pace. Yeah, you can probably get a good deal and get some pre-day training tutorials. But if you need to really drill down on something and you want that smaller, more intimate setting, so a lot of these community events will provide that as well. So, and I think in the bigger events, you'll see that in the future, probably a hybrid of both, bigger groups, smaller groups. Very much like, when I signed up my daughter for swimming, it's like you want a low ratio or a high ratio class instructor to student. And it really depends on probably who your kid is and what their skill level is. And same in the Power Platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're ever, attending or you're planning on attending, speak up and tell the organizers what you would like, or because they're always looking for feedback and they're always looking to improve and very much accommodating, what you would prefer. So if you do have any feedback to give or anything, just reach out to the community organizers and they will appreciate that feedback.
Cool. So yeah, check out those events. Again, if you like this episode, I know we're running a little bit longer, but it's release planned, so it's a little bit of a special one. But definitely give us some feedback, leave us some reviews on your favorite podcast platform, or you could buy us a beer at the buymeacoffee.com/powerplatboost. Thanks to those who have already donated. There's a few of you. Awesome. Thanks, folks. We really appreciate it. This helps pay for our subscription costs and things like that. And maybe a beer or two down the line, hopefully. We'll see. And again, so Rika, you're going on summer vacation for a bit. So we're going to see the next episode will be August 9th. So enjoy your vacation. And
Thank you.
For everyone else,
have a good summer, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your host, Ulrika Ackerbeck and Nick Dolman. And see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news and updates.